The long game. Are you building wealth while you sleep? Are you getting the benefit of a giant asset, throwing cash month after month after month? You take an asset that eventually will be worth millions more than you bought it for. It's the closest thing to McDonald's that I could think of.
Welcome to the No Limits Podcast, where limits do not exist, where you can create cash flow, equity, and real freedom with the power of real estate.
3, 4. Now, we will begin.
Welcome to the dojo.
How to wholesale a mobile home park so you and I can partner together. That is the topic of today's show. Welcome to the No Limits Real Estate Investing Podcast. This is Todd Toback, and if this is your first time listening to the show, head on over to NoLimitsRealEstateInvesting.com, and you could download a copy of the No Limits Wholesaling Map. This is the action plan that if you're trying to do your first deal or you're going to create a business that's going to spit off cash month after month after month. This is the exact blueprint that I use to get there myself and to teach thousands of investors just like you across the country, even if you have no experience and have no idea what the heck you are doing. I remember when I first got started in real estate, trying to do my first deal, I was so nervous, didn't have the right contracts, didn't know what houses were worth. I was scared what the sellers were going to think about me. I had imposter syndrome, right? I wasn't a real estate investor. Didn't know how to find a title company. I mean, geez, I was not qualified, quote unquote, to do that first real estate deal. And so let me shortcut you, right? The purpose of investors and mentors and coaches is to take their learning, their experiences, their mistakes, and accelerate that for you. So go to NoLimitsRealEstateInvesting.com, download the map. It's completely free and my gift to you. So let's get into one of my favorite topics, and that is mobile home parks. Now, why do I love mobile home parks? Well, from a investing aspect, I believe in the short game and I believe in the long game, right? The short game is all about generating cash. You need money to live on. You need money to fuel your business. You've got to eat. And you know what? You want to create money to invest. So you know my vehicle for generating short-term cash is wholesaling real estate, right? You can listen to so many episodes, A to Z, learn it all listening to this podcast. And I appreciate all you listeners out there. But just as important is the long game. The long game. Are you building wealth while you sleep? Are you getting the benefit of a giant asset, throwing cash month after month after month with very little employees, right? With the market forces rising, right? Where you take an asset that eventually will be worth millions more than you bought it for. And that is what I'm going to talk about today. And again, we're going to talk about how you and I can partner on that first one if you are not comfortable. So why do I love mobile home parks? Well, number one is that it's a little bit different than other classes of real estate. It's residential real estate, meaning that people live there. But what I love about so much about mobile home parks is that if you run it properly, right, you will own the land underneath a house and not the house itself, right? No repairs of toilets or sinks or roofs or gutters or locks or clogged toilets, right? You don't have any of that, right? You don't have to worry about painting the exterior of your houses. You have people who own their own property and pay you lot rent month after month after month. It's the closest thing to McDonald's that I could think of. I don't know if you know this, but the franchisees typically do not own the real estate underneath their McDonald's. And so McDonald's collects rent on the franchisees every single month. And the people who own the McDonald's are entitled, or they are agree to pay that rent, but they have to run the restaurant, right? And that's why I love mobile home parks. Second thing is that mobile home parks, and by the way, I learned all of this from Frank and Dave, right? Frank and Dave, they own Mobile Home University. Phenomenal podcast, but I learned from them and they are just so awesome. So you want to check them out. But the other thing that I want to talk about is basically how it differs from its main competition. So there's single family houses, of course, but then there's apartments, right? Apartments. And so a 3-bedroom apartment, you have people on the sides of you, you have people above you, you've got stairs, you've got parking, usually, not in a convenient place, and it's very transitory, right? People in 1 year, out the next, right? I think the average stay of someone who lives in an apartment is a year or 18 months. I mean, just so much turnover, right? And of course, you are responsible for the leaky faucets and the toilets and, the painting and the carpet and all that. And so the reason why I like mobile home parks so much is that people who live in these things, number one, is that they're not transitory, right? It's a superior product to an apartment. Also, mobile home park rents are actually at this point lower than they should be, meaning that they've got a lot of room to go up. So if you think about a 3-bedroom apartment that may rent for $1,600 a month in that same market, the lot rent on a mobile home park is going to be approximately, let's call it 450, maybe 500. And, there's a lot of room considering that it's actually far superior to an apartment. So there's a lot of room for them to rise. The other thing that I like, though, is that there is a little bit less competition. There's still competition for these things, but compared to apartments, a lot of people say, people who own mobile home parks, those people are crazy because, trailer trash lives in there. And I can tell you nothing could be farther from the truth, right? You have a lot of great people who want stability. They want a yard. They want to be able to pull right up to their house and live there for the rest of their days. And you have a lot of families who live in these things that have, playgrounds. I mean, if it's run properly, these things can be absolute, I don't want to use the word cash cows, but they are. You're providing a fantastic place to live at a very, very, very affordable price. And so that's why I love personally mobile home parks, right? Cap rates tend to be a little bit higher. Now, all a cap rate is basically the return on the property if you were to pay all cash. So for example, if you were to buy a house at a 10 cap, a park at a 10 cap, that means that if this thing spits off $100,000 after all expenses, that you are going to make about $100,000 a year. Okay, so that's the cap rate. So those cap rates tend to be a little bit higher than apartments, less competition. All right, so let's talk about how you can go out and find these things. Very, very, very important. You can go out and find these things. So you got to start out and you want to pull a list. So the freshest list that you can find is go to your markets and go to listsource.com. You select the commercial section over there and you select mobile home parks and you export that list from ListSource. And you now have a list of mobile home parks. Now you can hit a 3-state area, 4-state area, it doesn't matter. But where I really want you to target is some mom and pops. Now you can target corporates, but there's a section in ListSource that says exclude corporates. So if you're really trying to get like that 80-20 rule, like the most effective sellers, people who want to sell to you, mom and pops, people who are not sophisticated operators, who are probably motivated because the tenants are not treating them right and they're not really running this like a business, that's where we're going to find our best deals. You and I partnering together. So go ahead and pull the non-corporate owned, right? Exclude the corporate owned in your area. Now, ideally, we're going to start looking in areas that have a metro of 100,000 people or more. Now, when I say metro, right, that's not the exact city. The metro is a cluster of cities. It's an area, right? So for example, I live in San Diego, but I live in a small town in La Mesa. I live in the San Diego metro, right, which is in the millions, right? But the town I live in is just a couple $100,000. 100,000 people, excuse me. And again, you can pull statewide, 3 states. You might not want to get that granular right now because the list is not going to be that big, right? Only, maybe 2, 4, 600. So, you can pull 3 states and really have a very, very finite amount of lists. Okay, so now you got the list. All right. For me, here's what I would do. I would take that list and I would upload it to Batch Dialer. Okay. So go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/dialer, nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/dialer. That's going to take you to our affiliate page. You actually get a free trial going through there. And I would cold call these people, right? Are you interested in selling your park? Great, fantastic. Tell me why you're selling. Tell me how many spaces it has. That's the first question you want to ask. The second question you want to ask is, what kind of utilities does it have? Is it public utilities or is it private utilities, septic and well? Third question you want to ask is, are the homes, park owned or are they tenant owned? Now, of course, we prefer public utilities, right? And we also prefer tenant-owned properties. Some parks are not run properly. And what I mean by properly, I mean the way that we like to run them. And so they're not run properly. And so we'll have to convert those from park-owned to tenant-owned, right? And then finally, we are looking for metros that are over $100,000. So how do you find this? Well, you go to bestplaces.net, bestplaces.net, okay? And you want to put in your city, where that park is. And then on the bottom right-hand side, you will see a little place where it says the metro. So for example, I live in La Mesa and the metro will pop up is the San Diego Metro, and I click it and then I'll tell you. So as long as that number is 100,000, that park is going to be, is going to have enough population to support it, right? So very important to check that out. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the, park scenarios. That no park is going to be perfect, right? So no park's going to be just the right metro, right? It's, just the right utilities, just the right ratio of park-owned homes to tenant-owned homes, right? In the, the perfect price that we want it for and the population. So, one or two of these things might not be perfect, and that's okay, right? Just most of them have to be, all right? So you want to get on the phone, go to Batch Dialer, upload that, and cold call these people. Cold call, right? And the list is not going to be that big. So then after you cold call them, I would text them manually from your cell phone. I would say, hey, my name is Joe. My name is Mary. Are you interested in selling your mobile home park? I'm a buyer. And with that list, you're going to garner some interest, right? Very, 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 very important. Now, if you want to partner, all you have to do is bring someone who wants to sell and they've got some motivation, get that information. And if you want to partner with me, I would be glad to buy it if it meets certain criteria, right? And I could partner with you and we could do the deal and you could learn and we could make some money together. But if it doesn't fit my criteria and I don't buy it, I could show you how to wholesale to somebody else, right? So I'll talk about that here in a second. But if you want to partner and if you find a lead, man, let's make some money. Email when you have a lead to support@nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com, support@nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com. Then once you text them, you call them, I would maybe try a ringless voicemail if you have. If you want to do that, also send out letters, right? And go, if you want to send out small batches of letters, you can either check out yellowlettershq.com, tell them Todd Toback sent you, or you could go to 3dmailresults.com. They could do some kind of specialty mailing for you, like lumpy mail. So like either in a big cash money bag or a popcorn bag or a, funny looking container, they could really, really up those open rates for you. So that's what 3dmailresults.com. Make sure, again, you tell them Todd sent you. I don't get anything for referring them over there. All right. So let's say for whatever reason, and by the way, if you are watching live on Instagram, feel free to ask questions. Very, very, very important here. So if you bring it to me and I do not want it, right? Or if it's out of my area, it doesn't meet my criteria. And if you think it might, you can still email me, support@nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com. You can wholesale this to somebody else for a fat wholesale fee. All right. So if I don't buy it, you can lock it up under a purchase contract, just like you would a residential contract. Lock it up. Here's one thing though, just to be aware of, is that mobile home park owners typically are more sophisticated than single family home landlords, right? So they're used to collecting rents and depositing them and running somewhat of a business, right? They're not super savvy, right? Very, very, very important here. They're not super savvy, but you can expect to have to put down 5, 10, or $25,000 down as an earnest money deposit. Now, if you partner with me, you don't need to worry about that. But if you don't have that, just be aware that you're going to have to find a way to get that into escrow or title pretty soon if you're going to wholesale it to somebody else. Either way, lock it up on a contract. Lock it up on a contract and find a buyer, right? Very important. Then you can find a buyer, right? Once you have it under contract, you can then start looking for mobile home park owners in your area. You could see who owns properties in your area. You could pull them up, pull the list from that original list that you have, except this time you pull the corporate owned in your area, right? And now you will find the people who are actually sophisticated operators who will buy your property from you, right? You can call them, you could text them, you could also mail them and tell them that you have a property under contract, and then you assign that contract for them for a fat wholesale fee. Now, why do I like wholesaling these? Well, for me, I personally would like to partner with you, and you could wholesale to me and I'll keep it. And you could earn a fat fee. And you could also learn a little bit about that mobile home park business as your first step. But why are these better than houses to wholesale? They're both awesome, right? But there is less competition when you're dealing with mobile home parks. You're not going to have everyone and their mother chasing these, and that's what I love. So what kind of deal are we looking for? How to evaluate the numbers? Well, everything comes back to NOI, net operating income. What does the property make after all expenses, right? That's the net operating income. Simple as that, right? How much money does this thing spit off after I pay the taxes and the repairs to the infrastructure, right? The plumbing, the sewer, the lights, the streets. What does it make? Very, very important. And then you take the asking price and you divide the NOI, right? The amount of money that you're making by the asking price that you negotiate. And that's the cap rate. That's how commercial real estate is valued. So if you've got something that is in the 10 cap rate, right? The net operating income divided by the agreed upon purchase price is 10%. That's a great, great deal. Okay. Bring it to me. I'll definitely pay an assignment fee. 8% if it's in a pretty populated area, a very, very good metro, right? And then as low as 6%. As low as 6% if you are like in a major market like San Diego or LA or Miami or Houston or Dallas or Miami. You know what I'm talking about, right? Those big, big, big metros. So as low as a 6 cap, right? And again, don't get too confused. I'm just giving you the quick and dirty version, okay, and how to lock this up. What does this all come down to? Number one, you got to go out there and find some deals, right? I want you to go out there, and if this niche resonates with you, go to ListSource right now after you get all this and pull the darn list. Load it up to batch dialer, right? Go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/dialer. This is my favorite dialer for calling people. It's like a machine gun when calling people. I love this thing. It's like call like 1,000 people a day. My team loves this thing. Call people, text them manually from your cell phone, ringless voicemail them if you can, and send out mail. The list is not huge. Yes, it's an investment. Yes, you will make your money back if you work it. You got to work it. All right. Remember, lock it up on a contract. If you want to partner with me, which I would love to partner with you, email support@nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com. If not, lock it up a contract, assign it to a buyer. Make sure it fits most of that criteria and watch out for those cap rates. So until the next episode, man, let me know your questions. I love hearing from you. I love the reviews on iTunes. Copy and paste the link to this show and share it to your friends. And if you're watching this on Instagram, please go ahead and share that. Talk to you soon, and I can't wait for the next episode.